So 5 or 6 questions. We're doing all the technical crew that will be attended here today. So can you please introduce yourself, sir, and what's your role at this show here at Òran Mór today?
Hi there, I'm Creon and I am the venue booker here at Òran Mór. So my role has been to liaise with yourself and Charlie and Chloe at Independent Venue Week, just to get the day organised for coming to do the filming, and then liaising for production load-in, artist load-in, just the timings for the day and stuff like that.
Still the long day it's ever been. So for people who don't know Òran Mór, give me a wee bit of the background of Òran Mór. It's been here, 15 years now?
Yeah, so Òran Mór opened in 2004. I think. So yeah, it's just over 15 years it's been open now. We are a multi-arts venue, so we mainly do live music. That's our primary thing, but we also do theatre and comedy as well as live music, and we've got the bar as well and the upstairs auditorium here, where we do weddings and stuff like that as well. So
this auditorium, we deliberately chose this venue today. We've been one of Glasgow's primary live music venues, as Creon touched on, but particularly, as we'll see when we do it, like the roof, the Alistair Gray roof of this venue, and the show and the whole production and crew. I mean, I'm fortunate enough, I've been coming here since it opened, and I particularly always go back to tell folk that the first time they ever toured the UK, a young up-and-coming American band called Fleet Foxes played a stunning, up in this bar here, they played up in that stage down there, and Fleet Foxes, local support, Cassidy, were doing their 4-piece harmonies. It was one of the stunning gigs, maybe a year after you opened, and 15 years on, I still remember that gig clearly as a wonderful gig. But like you say, I've been over here a few times for weddings, for burn suppers, and for the pie and a pint down the basement, the plays, and the live gigs in here. It is one of Glasgow's I said the reason we use it today, we're showing Glasgow in a good light, and a venue that is a truly multi-purpose, world-class venue, punches well above its weight and is recognised throughout the UK as somewhere that people want to play. And that's only a credit to yourself and the whole team, Creon.
Cheers, thank you.
And obviously it's not just the handsome guy, the booker. There's a whole team behind it. I mean, a normal gig, how many people have you got working here from sort of load in at sort of 7, 8 a.m. right through to close?
For a normal gig, because we've got the lunchtime theatre as well, so we've got a team who've got to put the set together for that. So we'll have 2 engineers on doing the lunchtime theatre, then you've got to do the change around for the load in for the gig at night, so you've got another couple of engineers coming in then. You've got myself and Jamie doing the booking and running the show. You've got 6 or 7 bar staff working throughout the day. Then you've got the security coming in at night, so it's 4 or 5 security.
I'm in the middle of the trendy West End. I don't think I've ever seen a crossword in here, far less any sort of unsavoury incidents. I don't recall any of the many gigs I've been over the years. Just not that kind of venue. I'll touch briefly on the last two. Over the last 12 months, what's been the biggest surprise, disappointment for you personally and as a venue operator? What's been the disasters of the last 12 months?
The disasters?
Just being closed, basically.
Just being closed, yeah. That's been the biggest frustration of the last 12 months, is not knowing. You're just having to guess what you're doing. So yeah, there's some shows that have probably been rescheduled for the 4th time now or something like that, and that gets pretty frustrating. And as I say, you've just been guessing the whole time what month to put it into without actually knowing when it's going to end.
So we're slowly coming out of this horrible nightmare we've all been living through now for just over a year. What are you most looking forward to?
Most looking forward to getting shows back on again. I think, just getting back to normality, getting shows back on, having bands back in, having a crowd back in. Because we have had quite a few filming things like this, which is nice to have had that, but it's very strange still, like coming in and doing this sort of thing without having the crowd and the atmosphere in.
Well, as I said, I was fortunate enough to see one you done a few weeks ago from Twilight Sad, which was absolutely stunning, and the way they used both the top auditorium up here and the top bar that we were talking in, it made it really showcase your venue wonderfully well. It's a great calling card for the venue, I feel.
Yeah, that was great to have the Twilight Sad in. We had them in here a few years back. They released the live album that they recorded in here after not the last album, but the one before, and it was called the Òran Mór Session. So we've got a bit of a relationship there. So this was almost like a sequel to that. So it was great to have them back in. And as you say, it showcased the venue so well, the way it was recorded. It was really good, and I think it showcased the band really well as well.
Totally agree. Finally, last one from me, Creon. We're already looking forward to Independent Venue Week 2021, which is going to be January the 31st to 6th of February, 2022. So at least we're giving you lots of time to plan. And what's your hopes and aspirations for Independent Venue Week Year 9, which is next January, and even we're already actually planning a very special Year 10 for 2023. What's your hopes for the venue over the next 18 months or so?
So the hopes are hopes for the venue and Independent Venue Week, I suppose, is just for it to happen and for there to be a live audience again. It's great that everyone has been able to do this sort of thing, like, you know, recording some live streams and stuff like that, so that things like Independent Venue Week can still happen even throughout this. But I think it's just hopefully by then we will be back open again and be able to be fully functioning for Independent Venue Week. And I think stuff like Independent Venue Week is going to be very important for a lot of venues, to shine that light on live music.
As always, thanks for your time and help, Creon, and you're still the man with the best smile in Glasgow music. Thanks, my friend.
Cheers, Tam. Cheers.
Hey everybody, back again. And now we've got the fabulous Amy Macdonald. Thank you very much, Amy.
Thank you.
So a few wee questions for Independent Venue Week. We're obviously going to stream this and put it out in a few weeks' time, depending on diary commitments, and it'll be on the YouTube channels, on Amy's networks, on Connor's networks, etc. So, first of all, daft question, are you from Glasgow or Bishop Briggs? I always feel some of the satellite towns of Glasgow get very pissed off that Glasgow claims the credit for people. You're just a Glaswegian as far as you're concerned.
Well, I mean, obviously I'm technically from Bishop Briggs, but I was born in Glasgow. And I think the city is kind of swallowed up all of the suburban towns anyway, so it's greater Glasgow.
No, I know people from Clydebank, Greenock, Paisley, Bells Hill, like Connor, some of them get hacked off that Glasgow takes the credit, and some folk can get very precious with wee things like that. It's just greater Glasgow. We're known all over the world, so I'll keep it with that. Going back to early days, I remember you way back sort of playing bean scenes, etc., and all the coffee shop type venues. What was the highlights in the first couple of years when you picked up the guitar and you're learning your craft as a young singer-songwriter in Glasgow?
Yeah, it was amazing. I just felt so lucky that there were so many places where I was able to perform. And at the time, I just thought it was amazing that somebody was paying me money to play. I just thought it was the most incredible thing. And I think now, especially when I'm on tour and playing big festivals and things like that, I realise just how important it is to get that experience and start off and play around all the different venues. So I do feel very lucky that I had that in my life and in my career, because it definitely helped me.
Well, I keep using the word, but what are sort of barometer venues? The first thing you want to play X, then want to play Y, then want to play Z. Any sort of key ones that you're lucky enough to play, then lucky enough to sell out back in the day?
Yeah, I mean, the first time I played King Tut's was amazing, and I was just there as a support act for another artist, but I'd recently signed a record contract, so there was a few people there because they were trying to create a buzz or whatever it is they try and do. And just playing there for the first time was amazing. And then when I played there again as my own headline slot and sold out all the tickets, that was awesome. And then for me, I think the next thing that I was just obsessed with was playing the Barrowlands. And I remember the first time I played the Barrowlands, it was at Christmas. I released my first album in that summer, and I got presented with my first ever platinum disc whilst I was on the stage. So it was just a double whammy of incredible memories. And I feel that we're so lucky in Glasgow with all of these great historical venues that we do have. Even places like this, they're just so amazing. And there really is such a great variety for every type of artist.
It's bizarre. Just as I said, as a gig goer myself, I remember that Barrowland gig and the roar for the audience when you got it. It was hair in the back of the neck moment. It was wonderful. All these years, I can still remember that as one of the high.
Yeah.
I remember you playing in here back in the day as well. Really good gig.
I can't remember playing in here. I think I've played down the stairs.
Sorry,
It was down the stairs,
it
yes.
was
Yeah, I
downstairs.
don't think I've been in here, but yeah, even now, even though I've played the Barrowlands, I mean, I can't even remember how many times it's been that many, but it still feels special every time. And it's the same with King Tut's. I'd done a charity show in there a few years ago, and it just felt electric, just all the people crammed in. I felt like I'd come full circle.
No, fantastic. Obviously we're here with Independent Venue Week hat on, thanks to the funding we get from Creative Scotland. Any independent venue weeks, either in Glasgow or in the UK, you've always just never quite get round to playing, thanks to tours. Is there anything still on your bucket list?
I mean, I've never been part of the Independent Venue Week before. This was the first time I got on board, and it's just such a shame that everything's got to be done behind closed doors. I think for me, because I know the importance of independent venues, because without them I probably wouldn't be where I am. I just wanted to do whatever I could to raise awareness and further the cause. So I think in the future, when things get back to normal, I'd happily get involved again and actually do some gigs to some audiences.
You do realise I'm going to hold you to this, so I wouldn't be saying that, but we'll talk about that for next January when things are hopefully back to normal. But no, it's been fantastic you've taken the time out to be our ambassador for Scotland this year. It's much appreciated by the whole IVW team, so thank you much again.
No problem.
Obviously now 6 albums in. Where do you get the inspiration to keep writing songs at the moment? What's been inspiring you during lockdown?
I mean, I haven't been writing much during lockdown. I know that a lot of artists have loved it because they've just got the time and they can do whatever they need to do. But for me, I get inspired by people, basically, by real life events and by stories. And I just haven't been seeing any people or I haven't really got any stories. So for me, it's not been the most inspiring of times, but I've had my album to promote, so I've been able to focus on that instead.
Fantastic. And as I said, doing my wee research before I come up, you talk about people that inspired you to start, and obviously being a fan like myself of likes of Travis and Killers, but I must confess, the word Rammstein keeps popping up in social media. That surprises me a wee bit.
Yeah, I think I'd done an interview in Germany once, and it's probably been mistranslated, but basically my sister is a huge Rammstein fan, and I was at a German awards ceremony a few years ago, the Echo Awards, and at the after party, Rammstein came up to me to tell me how much they loved my tunes, and it was quite a strange moment. And I basically told them that my sister was their biggest fan, and that this was so cool, and she'd be so jealous. And they were all very, very nice. And I think now they've just been listed as one of my inspirations.
Ever since, we've got to be careful with the world of social media. One wrong moment will haunt you forever. So I'm looking at obviously your generation and looking at Nick, obviously Connor being 14, any career advice for the Connors of this world? Any sort of do's and don'ts? You can think back at things that's worked for you over the last sort of 15 years.
I don't think there's any don'ts really, because I think sometimes you have to do things and learn from your mistakes, and then we all kind of go through that. I think the do's for me is just doing as many gigs as you can and doing as much performance as you can, because I think that's something a lot of young artists struggle with, that they're kind of thrust into the spotlight and they don't really have the background of performing often behind them. And it can be really difficult to get used to going on tour and performing every single night. So I think for me, just when it came to doing gigs as a professional, I already felt like I knew what I was doing. So it made me feel a lot more confident and a lot more comfortable.
No, and lastly, I think from us, what's the hopes and aspirations for the next 12 months as we slowly come out of this nightmare?
Well, I think for me, just being able to be around people again and being able to go on tour, and I think it'll be very emotional when we finally get the all clear, that we can have gigs and whatever else. I think that for me, I'll probably shed a few tears in those first few shows, just because it feels like it's been such a long time now, and I think we realise just how much we take these things for granted, how much it means to us to have our family and our friends around us, to be able to just nick into a shop or a pub or go to a gig. I can't wait for the normality to return.
Tell me about it on a personal level. 13 months today since I've worked This is my first day
Oh my
working.
God.
Putting this together, 13 months. It's been a long 13 months, and hopefully, just like I say, the light is at the end of the tunnel. Scotland's slowly opening back up. Well, hopefully we'll get the pubs, clubs and small venues back open by midsummer. Fingers crossed, and we're all back to seeing you doing what you do best.
Yes.
So thank you very much for today, and hopefully see you again soon in a proper setting.
Thank you
Cheers,
so
Amy.
much. Thank you.
Hello, sir. Who are you and what are you doing here today?
Hi Tam, how you doing? Long time no see. My name's Iain Mackie. I'm production managing today with my friends down there. We started Capture Works, which was a streaming studio in our unit because of what's been going on, you know. Normally we go out and do gigs and do sound and lights and video and stuff, but since there was no gigs, we brought the gigs to us.
No, it's been fantastic. I've found it really interesting. To be honest, you're a great case study for a lot of people, Iain, in that you have sort of, to use this very 2021 word, you have pivoted your company over the last 12 months. So what have you found from a business perspective? For where you were 12 months ago as just the man behind the plan, behind the sound and lights at half the venues at our city and festivals, how have you repivoted the business? And you've now got 3 or 4 businesses as opposed to just your main one, haven't you?
Aye, we've had to do a few things. We've been doing the streaming thing, the cameras and stuff in the venue that we've built. And I've been doing hi-fi stuff because obviously we sell speakers as well, but there's not been many speakers to sell for venue or gigs. So we've been doing hi-fi and surround sound and whatever we can really to keep jobs and keep guys getting paid and keep on keeping on, you know.
No, what I've been very impressed, apart from obviously a long-term relationship with you as a client, I've been really impressed over the last 12 months at how vocal you've been and how articulate behind the scenes about getting proper funding to the proper people out there. You've been very vocal. Some of the events you've done that I've watched online have been stunning. You want to touch on that?
Articulate's an interesting word for my Facebook output, that's for sure. Yeah, I've just... it just struck me that it kind of didn't go out very fair, really. And like a lot of the tour managers who do work internationally, I mean, Scotland exports an inordinate amount of technical staff all over the world. I've never worked out why, but there's loads of us. And because those guys went and earned their money abroad, they were deemed unfit for assistance from the Scottish government because they didn't do their work in Scotland, which seemed to me like it was... people who were really successful got less, which seems like the wrong way about it to me. Just because you make your money somewhere else, if you came back to Scotland and paid your taxes and chose to live here, then you should have got some assistance, you know. Some of these things have been picked up on, and I think some of these folk have got some help, but the assistance that's been dished out, much that it's been very welcome for everybody who's received it, it doesn't particularly to me have seemed to be very fair as to how much people have lost, as to how much they've got. But I guess these things are pretty tricky. Given the tourist board, the dosh for the event sector probably wasn't the brightest idea because the poor folks don't really know much about the event business. But one thing it has shown, this whole thing, is that we need a voice. And those voices are sort of coming to the fore, but because our industry is so complex and covers so many different people and so many different types of work between freelance and full-time and stuff, then I think it's been difficult for the powers to be to understand us and understand what our problems are.
No, I said, I think one of the best things for myself over the last 12 months is seeing some like-minded people coming to the fore and working closer. Obviously, us ourselves here at Independent Venue Week, for example, are lucky enough we get funded by Creative Scotland. And Creative Scotland, I think, over the last 12 months have really pivoted as well and worked out a bit more. They only talk to person X, Y or Z in the industry, but they now talk to A to Z. And the fact that people for your sector, particularly the live touring and the sound industry, etc., have been able to now access and talk to people like that when possibly that didn't happen 12 months ago is one of the biggest benefits of the last 12 months. And the fact that the touring sector industry, which has been, without blowing smoke up your bum, has been the unsung heroes all my adult life. I've been a guy, and now to see some of these people getting properly recognised and hopefully properly funded has been fantastic. And obviously way too late, but at least some of the traditional wrongs have been righted.
Hopefully. I've not got much good to say about any of them, but I never really did. I mean, they have had a fairly hard task, you know. It's used the crappy 2020 word of unprecedented. Aye, it was. Other countries seem to have fared substantially better than us. I don't know why that is, but we really should be. If we want to be, we kind of push this. I mean, Glasgow's a World UNESCO Music City, They want to be saving that, because there is a lot of people in this industry that may not come back, and that would be a crying shame. We're missing skills, and you need the older guys to teach the young guys and bring it on. You know, in the Glasgow music scene, bats miles above its weight, and it always has done, you know, and we need that to continue, because if one piece of the puzzle doesn't come back, then it all falls down. If there's no venue, there's no gig. If there's no sound company, there's no gig. If there's no backline, there's no gig. If there's no promoter, there's no gig. Everybody has to come back. If one bit of that pie doesn't come back, then the whole thing cascades. And being that we still somehow don't have a plan for how they want us to run events when they come back, hopefully this summer, if we don't get on with it quite soon, I'm deeply worried that some pieces of the puzzle never come back, and then the events industry could be scarred for years. And it's something that Scotland needs, because Scotland's events bring in tourism, they bring in people, it brings in a great deal of money to Glasgow, a city that's not it's not full of riches, and it's not full of, you know, I mean, the graphics design and all that sort of stuff that happens in Glasgow brings in good money, but it's not a rich city. But it is a rich city for gigs. I mean, like the Hydro's the second busiest venue in the world, or was, before it all went to bits.
I think it slipped to third, but it's been up there. It's been the top 5 since it opened, basically.
When's the last time Scotland got third at anything? Do you know what I mean? That's pretty good for us, you know. So we have to keep up there. We have to continue to be world class and export world class staff and production staff.
Well, if we finished third in a football group, that had been an improvement in the last few years, but let's not touch on football today to get twos into trouble. So something you said earlier, a lot of people maybe don't realise how many event managers, sound engineers, backline guys, front of house guys, literally some of the biggest bands in the world are Scottish, and we've been tremendously exporting our technical people for 10, 20 years. I personally have got a theory on that. I think it's because of the wanderlust of the Scots that we get everywhere, and right back to, you'll laugh, but Mr. Scott in Star Trek being portrayed as being a Scot, but we've always been perceived as being engineers, being technical people, being good at it, same in the banking sector, we've always been good, perceived worldwide as the people, and that's why even, I can think of a couple of rock and roll accountants that travel the world that are Scottish, that are never, like you say, they're never seen as Scots now, because some of them haven't even stayed here for 15, 20 years, because they're always on the road, and literally all points of the globe. You get any of the big tours from any of the world famous artists that everybody watching this can name, there's probably a Scot somewhere on the crew, somewhere along the line.
I don't know why it is. I always thought it's because folk do what they're told because of the accent, because they're a wee bit scared.
What do you mean by that?
Well, get that stage left now! Folk are like, oh, aye, all right then, mate. You know what I mean? I always thought it was the accent, but maybe it is our worldliness, because we do travel well, you know?
But I've always found it bizarre. You go to some of the major cities of the world, and there's always a little Italy, or obviously our friends from Ireland have wee places all over the world. There's not a Scottish corner in New York, there's not a Scottish corner in Texas, there's not a Scottish corner in Tokyo. Scots assimilate into the local communities rather than stay beside their pals, and I think that's maybe an asset. And taking off music for a second, you see the worldwide pride of Guinness and Guinness everywhere, and you don't see the same pride sometimes for whisky, whereas whisky must outsell Guinness on a worldwide basis, but there's not Scots bars in every town the way there's Irish bars in every town. It's because Scots blend in and want to work. They've moved on and they want to move and see the world, as opposed to, you know, go to Texas and open a Scottish pub.
We always did assimilate. I mean, even going back to British Empire stuff, seemingly the English guys would all go home to marry their English rose, but quite often the Scottish girls, the Scottish guys who were in charge of the Empire stuff, you know, the East India Company and stuff, they married locally, which was very different from English. I couldn't really say why that is. Probably because they didn't want 10 bells of nonsense off a Scottish woman when they went home. I'm not really too sure.
Absolutely not agreeing with that, or I'll get a kicking when I go home. Obviously, as I said, you've been an inspiration to a lot of people because you have, to use this word again, repivoted the company. What's your biggest hopes and inspiration for the next 12 months?
I hope we get back to
gigs. You're moving the business. You're moving one of your businesses down south, for example.
Just for the summer, because most of my bookings are in England this year. I've not got a great deal of bookings that I've got a great deal of faith in happening. As for the PA rental company, but I've got a lot of distance stuff happening in England, seated stuff, and I think they'll go ahead. So yeah, mostly we'll be based in England this year, sadly, because folk in Scotland just can't book because we don't have a plan for how to put on a gig yet.
Well, if you need a translator to come down and help you out, I'm available.
I just shout louder. I think that's why I get away with half the stuff I do in the business, because folk don't understand what I said, so they just shrug their shoulders and get on with it.
So I said, last question for me, we're with the independent venue hat, we've done it on. Independent Venue Week's now looking forward to years 9 and 10. What do you think, as somebody who's worked with a lot of our venues over the last 12 months in Scotland and obviously over the UK, how can you see Independent Venue Week, for example, plugging into the system better for next year and beyond?
Well, I think a lot of folk have had a good look at the industry. I mean, one hope, I forgot in your last question, is I hope we're all a wee bit nicer to each other when we come back, because the industry can be a bit chesty and it can be a bit shouty, but I kind of think we'll all be a wee bit nicer to ourselves when it comes back. And I also think a lot of musicians have been a bit lonely, like everybody else, a bit stuck at home. And I can't imagine what it's like if you're used to going out in front of 20,000 people to suddenly just looking at yourself in the bathroom mirror every day. It must be a bit of a downer for them. But I think all the people I've talked to who are like up there now, they're big stars that do big arenas and stuff like that. They're all remembering the venues they came from. And that's so important, because without independent venues, there is no gig in the Hydro, there is no Foo Fighters, there is no Monsters. They all started in a pub or a club or 150 punter, and everybody who's working here doing tech today, they all started in the same place. You know, you don't become a top class production manager without doing your bird in the local pub, you know what I mean, or the small venues, which Glasgow's utterly blessed with. I mean, it's 20 years ago I moved to Glasgow. I think there was probably 3 wee venues then, but now there's dozens of them, and they're great. They create all these great musicians that Glasgow dishes out. It seems like we've got a conveyor belt just now. They just keep coming. But one great thing about the Scottish folk that have made it pretty big lately, like Lewis Capaldi and stuff, they stick to their Scottish team. His whole team's still Scottish. The gear comes from Scotland, the tours leave from Scotland, the sound engineer, the production manager, they're all Scottish guys. 20 years ago when I first started, once you half made it, you had to go to London. But now you don't. You can do it out of Scotland. And I'm sure we guys like Connor, who was in here today, who's very young and super talented, by the way, he can see the Lewis Capaldis going out and knocking it out of the park and still staying in Scotland. And hopefully that gives him faith that he can stay here and knock it out of the park and become an international superstar.
You're saying it would be nicer to each other. I'll just leave in a note that you've always been one of the nice guys in the industry. Just be the big cuddly teddy bear you've always been. Thanks, big man. Thanks for your time. Cheers, Ian. Right, we're back to doing the last couple of interviews. So, usual starter question. Hello, sir. Who are you and what's your role here at this gig today?
Hi there. My name's Chris Kane, and I was the recording engineer for today.
Cheers, Chris. Lovely to see you. What's been the biggest, obviously I'll touch on the last 12 months and then we'll go forward. What's been the biggest frustration of the last 12 months for you personally?
Just not being able to do what we all love and know as we know it. Gigs.
Have you been able to do this dreaded repivot word? Have you been able to do quite a few streaming gigs?
Yeah, as everyone said, we repurposed our yard into Captureworks, which became the live streaming platform. It's been good. It's been good to still get to mix some music and see the bands that you know and work with your friends that you know in the industry, but it's not the same as gigs. We need them back.
So Captureworks is based here in Glasgow. How's Captureworks been as a brand new start-up company, and what's been the biggest interesting challenges for you guys professional over the last few months?
Well, being a live sound engineer, you're used to mixing on PAs, big speakers for big rooms, but converting your skills to mix for the people at home on their devices rather than mixing a big room full of people.
And as a non-sound engineer, what's the biggest challenges been? I don't really, what's the main differences for your perspective?
It's not a challenge, so to say, but when you're mixing live sound, you've got it in front of you. When you're mixing for broadcast, you don't know what it sounds like at the end because everyone's listening on different devices and such. Yeah. Any tricks of the trade you've managed to pick up over the last few months? Just wing it, mate. That's what I thought. That's interesting. But as I said, it's fantastic. You're an inspiration to a lot of people, that likes of you guys, just known being as the sort of monkeys on the decks, to be able to repivot yourself and do this and do that and work on new challenges. What's your hopes and aspirations for the sort of next 12, 18 months for the company? Well, hopefully we can go back to doing our gigs. Yeah. In a nice, hot, wee, sweaty venue somewhere. Yeah, there's quite a lot planned for this summer that's hopefully going to go ahead, given the restrictions, but hopefully we'll get around to it. Yeah, for every day you're thinking, this is happening, figures are going down, we're going to get things happening. Obviously a few, right up from smaller gigs, right up to festival levels, and here in the west of Scotland have been announced, so for later on in the year, so fingers crossed we get the go-ahead and we get us all do what we do best.
sooner rather than later.
Exactly.
And obviously we're sitting here today with the Independent Venue Week hat on. Independent Venue Week's announced now it's going to go 2022 is going to be year 9, January 31st to 6th of February, and then they've also announced for year 10, a big 10th anniversary party for 2023. As somebody who's worked in very many venues over the last few years at all levels, what's your own thoughts about the hopes and aspirations for Independent Venue Weeks as an organisation and Independent Venue Weeks in the west of Scotland and further?
It's important that the smaller independent venues get their representation, because that's where everyone starts out. That's where me myself started out as a sound engineer as well, on much smaller gigs and crowdy wee bars and the usual places before you can move on to a professional career. But they're such an important part of what we do, and we'd be nothing without them.
Independent venue week in the west of Scotland, I think we've got our smallest ones are literally a 40-50 capacity, right up to the enormous domes that we've got. And we're lucky in this city, we do go from 50 capacities to 14,000-15,000. So long may they all, and that's not even counting the stadiums or the big outdoor events at many city parks. So fingers crossed, I'll see you back in the proper location sometime soon. Thanks for your time today, Chris. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Cheers, buddy. Hi everybody, we're here at Òran Mór in Glasgow. We've just seen a stunning gig with Connor Fyfe and Amy Macdonald, so we're just going to have a quick interview with both the artists, ask them a few wee questions about independent venues, etc. I'll start with the wonderful young man, Connor Fyfe. Hi Connor, how's your gig, sir?
Right, pretty good, enjoyed it.
That was excellent, that was fun. So the last couple of years, I was just looking at your CV this morning, I'll have to make sure I look professional. You've played at the likes of Tuts and the Barrowland and Classic Grand in Glasgow. What's been the highlight so far?
Tuts has been a highlight. Tuts was a highlight, and I'm looking forward to playing that again soon. But I supported Snuts Nil. It was a great gig, good crowd, good sound. So
it's one of the barometer moments for any, but I was going to say
absolutely.
any Glasgow band, but any Scottish artist.
when you're walking up the stairs, see all the bands on the stairs, you think, oft.
It's always a fun moment, and obviously A, to play it, and then the best one is when you get to that stage when you sell it out, and it's such a buzz. So that's one for you to get done in next year. Obviously, you played recently. I noticed at Leith, one of my favourite venues, Leith Theatre through in Edinburgh. How was that for you?
That was great. That was the EH6 Festival. That was 2018, I think, so a while ago. But I was back there a couple of months ago doing a retro video club thing live in Leith, because it was a live stream, because obviously no people allowed. But we've done that, and a few other acts are playing the weekends and stuff, so it's good.
The last 12 months has been strange for every musician trying to get round to these video gigs, and I must confess, some of the ones I've seen for the Leith Theatre in particular, the one with yourself and Retro Video Club a couple of weeks ago, and friends of mine, Lucia, and the 9 Wave tomorrow night, is getting filmed this weekend. Some of them just work as venues, and it's a credit to the artist. They can make it feel like something special, and for likes of me, just sit and watch it in the laptop at home.
It was a great crew as well, sound and visuals and stuff, so they make it look good, you know.
It always helps. So I noticed that when you started, obviously a young musician starting so young, you threw in a few covers as well as building your own repertoire. You've got a thing, and I noticed the website, some of the covers you've done were obviously the Beatles, Oasis, Lewis Capaldi. So I'll ask the dead standard question, who's better, Beatles or Oasis?
The Beatles.
Surprise. I think that's a generational thing.
That's I love Oasis. I think they're great, but no, the Beatles do it for me. They're my favourite band. So.
And what's your favourite songs of theirs to cover?
I like covering a lot of just acoustic stuff. I like playing a song of Help called I've Just Seen Her Face. It's quite fun. Stuff people know, you know, but I can't really cover it in for Sgt. Pepper's because it's just me and an acoustic guitar. So it's a bit. And
I noticed somebody putting the questions on, you know, another young up-and-coming artist for Glasgow, but it's very important sometimes to think Glasgow takes ownership of everything. Now, I'm a born and brought up Glaswegian, but you're from the world-famous place of Bellshill. Bellshill's done not so bad of itself over the last 25 years.
I didn't realise it was a famous place until I knew Teenage Fan Club and all that came from there, but because there's not really any music venues in Bellshill now, because I've been stripped back before I was born, I never really knew about that until last year, and I looked at a wee documentary and seen off. Yeah, that was a really
impressive documentary. Obviously, you've got a couple of Teenage Fan Club, you've got BMX Bandits, you've got half the Soup Dragons, all for there. And now you're going on that map as well, keeping the Bellshill sound alive. Well done, young man. So, I mean, growing up in the west of Scotland then, what's been the favourite venues from Glasgow and its surroundings. I mean, Greater Glasgow, that's at 30 miles, it's at 20 miles to Bells Hill, all direction of Glasgow. It takes in so many great little satellite towns. What's been the favourites for you growing up? You've presumably played quite a few over the last 4 or 5 years.
Òran Mór's great. Not gonna King. I like playing King Tut's. Barlands was good. That was big venue. I like places where just see a good sound. Like, it doesn't really matter how much people are there. There's just seeing it sounds good. It's great. But probably I liked Room 2. That's a venue I played at. Done a wee album launch in there, and I don't know if it's the most famous, but
Room 2 is only it was just a nightclub, and Room 2 is only repositioning itself as a live gig. It was just starting doing so well just before lockdown, and I'm quite friendly. They've been a big supporter of Independent Venue Week last year, and they've got a few things up their sleeve we're going to do hopefully once lockdown's re-up. But Room 2 is, I think, a wee undiscovered gem in Glasgow City Centre at the moment.
You'll know as a DJ, but the live music, I think, it's a good venue. It's a good venue for that stuff.
And obviously, any independent because we've got Independent Venue Week sort of sponsoring us and paying for it today through our pals at Creative Scotland, I've got to say, any Independent Venue Week, any independent venues in Scotland you haven't played yet is still on the map you've got to get into over the next 12 months.
For example, I've never even been inside this room, but now that I've kind of played here, that's
obviously, Òran Mór is absolutely iconic, from the stunning ceiling that we're sitting underneath to the stained glass windows to the fantastic crew and production people in here. It's always a great gig, so it's one you should have on your bucket list, to be fair. And yourself, over the last 12 months, have we born here? How have you been keeping yourself busy over the last 12 months?
Well, obviously it was quite hard. No gigs and studios were shut at the start, so I got some recording equipment for my house, and I don't really know how to work all that, but I spent a wee bit of time working on it, just doing some demos and that, and now we're starting to record tunes again and put them out, because it's getting a bit more lenient with studios and stuff, so we're getting there. But at the start I was just writing all this, because see, when you're gigging like a couple nights a week and that, there's not really a lot of time for writing tunes every day and that, but during lockdown I took my chance and kind of done a lot of them to start recording and put out for gigs when they come back. So.
That takes you on to what's the plans and aspirations for the next 12 to 18 months?
Well, I just put out a single called Truth Be Told there, and I've got another one. I pray I think this tune will be out by the time this is, so I can say that. But we're putting that out, and a few more singles, I think, and then we've got Tuts and Dundee and stuff like that, so people know the lyrics.
Superb, well done. So that's good things you've got planned for the next 12 months. What's been inspiring you as a young up-and-coming songwriter? What inspires you to write songs? Where's the inspiration come from?
Everything really. I don't know. You get inspiration for seeing other bands live, I think. Not because you want to copy them a lot, but you see how they're doing and you think, it's all about, like, I love recording and writing and stuff, but it's all about live music for me. I think that's what I like to do. Studios are right and that, but no, live music's it. So when I go and see other bands, I think I want to write tunes because I want to end up there, or that I want to play this festival that I'm seeing this band at. Do you know what I mean? So I think write a tune, maybe it'll do well, and just progress from there.
Good man. In a strictly personal capacity, I've been lucky enough to see you from the gig in the Goyles over the last 2 or 3 years, 2 of your gigs at Classic Grands, to a couple of Tartan Army type gigs you've done through Edinburgh have been fantastic. It's great to see you just growing and still keeping your youthful good looks and not getting old and hackett like me.
Thanks very much. No, they were great gigs, Tartan Army up at Stramash as well. It's probably one of my favourite gigs I've played as well.
I'll hopefully see you there next new year again.
Absolutely.
That'll be nice. Right. Anything else you want to plug while I've got you?
New single a bit by then, so it's called Pray. Buy it. There we go.
Good man. Connor, absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you, my friend. Cheers. We're not allowed to shake hands. So thank you very much, sir. Cheers, Connor.
Tears dry on my face,
They say love comes easy, but that's not the case. And you'll never know. 'Cause I'll never show. I said I'm sorry for the last time. And I made mistakes for all my life. Now I'm wrong and you're gone. I'm out of line. I said I'm sorry for the last time. Your smile drops, but I can't care. And I feel no pain when you're not there. Oh, and you'll never know. 'Cause I'll never show. I said I'm sorry for the last time. And I made mistakes for all my life. Now I'm wrong and you're gone. I'm out of line. I said I'm sorry for the last time. I said I'm sorry for the last time. And I made mistakes for all my life. Now I'm wrong and you're gone. I'm out of line. I said I'm sorry for the last time. I said I'm sorry for the last time. How am I supposed to catch you when you're straight up falling? You don't call on me anyway. And how am I supposed to see you when you're with him every single day? And you know it was meant to happen, and you know it was meant to be. You got me on my knees. I'm falling, and I know when you're coming on the runway, I feel you're gonna crash me, but it's an illusion. And you never had to do what you did, but you did it anyway. And I'll pray for you if you pray for me. In the morning light, we can see it true. Hell, I can't breathe without you.
said it, how we both gotta try and make it through this lifetime. We'll say it's about the journey, not the end of the line. You know it was meant to happen, and you know it was meant to be. Whatever the capacity, I'm breaking and falling, and catch me, I'm praying. And I know when you're coming on the runway, I feel you're gonna crash me, but it's an illusion. And you never had to do what you did, but you did it anyway. And I'll pray for you if you pray for me. In the morning, in the light, we can't see it true. Hell, I can't breathe without you. And I'll pray for you if you pray for me. There's a light at the end that I can see. If I pray for you, would you pray for me too? If it happened to us, well, I know what I'd do. I know what I'd do if I pray for you. So I'll pray for you if you pray for me. In the morning light, we can see it true. Been trying to find my way out this hole. Looking for some open room. I'll come and tell I can't no more, 'cause you know I'll fight the war. Don't give them a lie, or don't you know that they'll blind you? Don't give them a key, they'll just try to unwind you. 'Cause I give you my shadow, and I walked right beside you. There's times I don't know which way I should go. I can't turn back, I can't say no. Just reach for my hand, it's what I'm here for. And you know I'll fight the war. Don't give them a lie, don't you know that they'll blind you? Don't give them a key, they'll just try to unwind you. 'Cause I give you my shadow, and I walked right beside you. Beside you. they'll blind you. Don't give them a key, they'll just try to unwind you. 'Cause I gave you my shadow and I walked right beside you. You know I'm fado, yeah, you know I'm fado. You know I'm fado, you know I'm fado. You know I'm fado, yeah, you know I'm fado. You know I'm fado, 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 you know I'm fado. 'Cause I gave you my shadow and I walked right beside you. There's a darkness that lightens up your face. Been a long time, I can't remember your name. You want it all, you thought you had it all. And if truth be told, well, your mind was gold. You've been running from your life. There's a fire burning, you that set it alight. You've been crying in your sleep. There's a nightmare happening in a tulip sword I see. There's a madness that strikes between your eyes. You're dependent on everyone else to tell your life. You had it all, and then you lost it all. Oh. And if truth be told, well, your mind was gold. You've been running from your life. There's a fire burning, you that set it alight. You've been crying in your sleep. There's a nightmare happening in a tulip soy I see. You've been crying and you've been fighting. 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 You've been crying and you've been sleep. There's a nightmare happening and it's you that's so I see. You've been crying and you've been fighting. Someone else said when you were dying, when you were in need, was it you that saw the ocean? You've been crying and you've been fighting. You've been crying and you've been fighting. You've been crying and you've been fighting. You've been crying and you've been fighting.
Hi, I'm Amy Macdonald, live for Independent Venue Week here at the beautiful Òran Mór in Glasgow. Don't wanna see the stars, don't wanna see the moon, don't wanna see the sun, it rises too soon. Don't wanna see the day, don't wanna see the night. Oh, the afternoon, it feels about right. I am the spaceman flying high, I am the astronaut in the sky. Don't worry, I'm okay now. I am the light in the dark, I am the match, I am the spark. Don't worry, I'm okay now. After the sun always comes rain, followed by hurt and pain. After the light comes the dark. After the love comes the breaking of my heart. I am the spaceman flying high, I am the astronaut in the sky. Don't worry, I'm okay now. I am the light in the dark, I am the match, I am the spark. Don't worry, I'm okay now. I am the spaceman flying high, I am the astronaut in the sky. Don't worry, I'm okay now. I am the light in the dark, I am the match, I am the spark. Don't worry, I'm okay now. Just dry your eyes and I'll be there. Don't live for anger or despair. Don't worry, I'm okay now. I'm okay. I'm okay now. There's a boy across the street, he's just trying to find his way. Coming over to my house, I see him every day. His mom and dad are busy, they never have the time to listen to his feelings, what's playing on his mind. All the children stand like statues on the street where I was born. It's a street where nothing changes,
But the road where I come from, now the cherry blossoms fall, and the nights are drawing in. Oh, I'm standing here, I'm frozen, as the world goes round again. The playground bell keeps ringing, a moving van appears, a change about to happen that we haven't seen for years. Our family's moving in, I never thought I'd see, on the street where nothing changes, a girl that looks like me. I watch her from across the street, I don't know what to say. Time will tell if we'll be friends, but that's another day. All the children stand like statues on the street where I was born. It's a street where nothing changes, but the road where I come from, now the cherry blossoms fall, and the nights are drawing in. Oh, I'm standing here, I'm frozen, as the world goes round again. Don't change nothing at all. Street lights lead me back home. Am I dreaming? Is it morning? Am I still here? Am I gone? All the children stand like statues on the street where I was born. It's a street where nothing changes, but the road where I come from, now the cherry blossoms fall, and the nights are drawing in. Oh, I'm standing here, I'm frozen, as the world goes round again. Now the cherry blossoms fall, and the nights are drawing in. Oh, I'm standing here, I'm frozen, as the world goes round again. And we all go round again. So calm, Mr. Rock and Roll is dancing on his own again, talking on his phone again to someone who tells him that his balance is low. He's got nowhere to go, he's on his own again. Rock chick of the century is acting like she used to be, dancing like there's no one there. Before she ever seemed to care, now she wouldn't dare. It's so rock and roll to be alone. And I'll meet one time far away and say, I wish I was something more. And I'll meet one time far away and say, I wish I knew you, I wish I knew you before. Black and white, she's never seen a shade of grey, always something on her mind every single day. But now she's lost her way, and where does she go from here? Mr. Multicultural sees all that one could see. He's living proof of someone very different to me, but now he wants to be free, free so he can see. before. He'll say, I wish I knew you, I wish I met you when time was still on my side. She'll say, I wish I knew you, I wish I loved you before I was his bride. And so there must depart too many more broken hearts, but I've seen that all before in TV, books and film and more. There's a happy ending every single day. And I'll meet one day far away and say, I wish I was something more. And I'll meet one day far away and say, I wish I knew you, I wish I knew you before. Seen the sky on a Saturday night. You're looking good, yeah, you're shining bright. Seen the girls in their high-heeled shoes, looking for love, they've got nothing to lose. Seen the boys in their skinhead jeans, acting out, yeah, they're living the dream. Feel the weight here upon my shoulder, the world is spinning as I get older. What happened through these years? All I feel is fear and doubt. What happened to the confidence? I'm older now. Where did it all go wrong, my love? Where did we fall apart? Summer in the 70s, living like a king and queen, looking back on where we are. Where did it all go wrong, my love? Where did we drift away? Walking along the Hudson, singing you my love song, never let it fade away. Seen your smile from across that room, all the girls here, they're looking at you. Seen your face under disco lights, the room is spinning but I feel alright. Time will tell if we'll be together. I dream about it where it did go bad. Here I am and there you stand alone in the dark, no one to romance. What happened to the girl I was? I stopped believing in it all. I never realized that life would take my own. Where did it all go wrong, my love? Where did we fall apart? Summer in the 70s, living like a king and queen, looking back on where we are. Where did it all go wrong, my love? Where did we drift away? Walking along the Hudson, singing you my love song, never let it fade away. Running down where the twinkle on Broadway, young and naive, we were so damn reckless, looking through the lovers and you don't know who you are. Now I know that there's nothing to change. We were running riot, we were playing the game. True love is only something you hear in the songs. It doesn't really last that long. Where did it all go wrong, my love? Where did we fall apart? Summer in the 70s, living like a king and queen, looking back on where we are. Where did it all go wrong, my love? Where did we drift away? Walking along the Hudson, singing you my love song, never let it fade away. Where did it all go wrong, my love? Where did we fall apart? Summer in the 70s, living like a king and queen, looking back on where we are. Where did it all go wrong, my love? Where did we drift away? Walking along the Hudson, singing you my love song, never let it fade away. Whistles down the cold dark street tonight, and the people they were dancing to the music by, and the boys chase the girls with their curls in their hair. They shot them in and just sit way over there, and songs that get louder, each one better than before. Hey, singing songs, thinking this is the life, and you wake up in the morning and your head first rises sighs. Where you gonna go? Where you gonna go? Where you gonna sleep tonight? Hey, singing songs, thinking this is a life, and you wake up in the morning and your head first rises sighs. Where you gonna go? Where you gonna go? Where you gonna sleep tonight? Where you gonna sleep tonight? So you're heading down the road in your taxi for 4. Hey, you're waiting outside Jimmy's front door, but nobody's in, nobody's home till 4. So you're sitting there with nothing to do, talking about Rubber Ragga and his motley crew. And where you gonna go? Where you gonna sleep tonight? Hey, you're singing songs, thinking this is a life, and you wake up in the morning and your head first rises sighs. Where you gonna go? Where you gonna go? Where you gonna sleep tonight? Hey, you're singing songs, thinking this is a life, and you wake up in the morning and your head first rises sighs. Where you gonna go? Where you gonna go? Where you gonna sleep tonight? Where you gonna sleep tonight? Life, and you wake up in the morning and your head first rises sighs. Where you gonna go? Where you gonna go? Where you gonna sleep tonight? Hey, you're singing songs, thinking this is the life, and you wake up in the morning and your head first rises sighs. Where you gonna go? Where you gonna go? Where you gonna sleep tonight? Hey, you're singing songs, thinking this is the life, and you wake up in the morning and your head first rises sighs. Where you gonna go? Where you gonna go? Where you gonna sleep tonight? Hey, singing songs, thinking this is a life, and you wake up in the morning and your head first rises sighs. Where you gonna go? Where you gonna go? Where you gonna sleep tonight? Oh, where you gonna sleep tonight?